Today, we're diving into a world of mystery, shock, and excitement, the ultra-rare UK 2 new pence Elizabeth coins that most people overlook, yet could be worth an absolute fortune. These aren't just old pennies sitting in a drawer. Some of them have collectors going crazy, paying prices that sound almost unbelievable. Imagine a small copper coin in your hand suddenly being valued in the six figures or more. Yes, these hidden gems exist, and you might even have one without realizing it. Stick with me until the very end, because each coin we reveal today gets rarer, more surprising, and more valuable than the last. Trust me, you do not want to miss a single second. And before we jump in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join our community of coin enthusiasts, so you never miss out on discovering the next potential treasure hiding in plain sight. Let's begin with a coin that might not look like much at first glance, but once you know the story behind it, you'll never see it the same way again. The year is 1976, and Britain was still adjusting to its new decimal coinage system that had only been introduced a few years earlier. In your hand, you have what seems like just another 2 new pence coin, featuring the familiar portrait of Queen Elizabeth II on the obverse, and the majestic Prince of Wales feathers on the reverse. But here's where it gets fascinating. Coins from the mid-1970s often flew under the radar. Millions were minted, yet collectors today search for the survivors that remain in fine condition or better, because time has not been kind to copper-plated coins. Most have corroded, discolored, or been lost to history. So if you have one with a solid rim, clear details of the Queen's crown, and those feathers standing sharp against the field, you're holding something special. Now, here's the shocker. A circulated 1976 2 pence coin in fine condition might only fetch a few dollars at first glance, maybe $5 to $25, depending on clarity. But when you step up to uncirculated or proof-like examples, the story changes dramatically. Collectors in the United States and beyond are willing to pay hundreds, sometimes thousands, for pristine examples because they represent a slice of British history that ties into the wider story of 1972 coinage. And here's where it gets even crazier. Known error strikes, like those with off-center impressions, double-die lettering, or even misaligned planchets, can skyrocket the value into the 5 and even 6 figures. Imagine pulling a coin like this out of an old collection and finding out it's worth $75,000, $120,000, or even upwards of $450,000 if the condition and rarity align just right. That's not just pocket change, that's life-changing money from a tiny copper coin minted almost half a century ago. So, how do you know if your 1976 2 new pence is valuable? Start by examining the lettering around the rim. Is it crisp and evenly spaced? Look closely at the Queen's portrait. Can you see the fine detail in the hair and crown, or has time worn it smooth? Any coin with sharp, untouched luster is a serious candidate for high value. And don't forget errors. A coin struck slightly off-center, with doubling in the date or lettering, or even with unusual coloring due to a minting mishap, can send collectors into a bidding war. It's the small details that transform an ordinary 2 pence into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Think about it, this coin, minted in 1976, the same year America celebrated its bicentennial, is now sitting in countless forgotten drawers, boxes, or jars around the world, but only a few exist in the kind of condition collectors dream about. If you happen to stumble across one, you could be holding a hidden jackpot worth more than some people's homes. That's the magic of coin collecting, ordinary objects with extraordinary stories and shocking values. And this is just the beginning. Because as incredible as this first coin is, the next ones we're about to reveal climb even higher in rarity and value. So don't go anywhere, the next discovery will leave you absolutely speechless. Next up, we jump nearly 3 decades forward, and at first glance, you might think the 2005 2 new pence coin is far too modern to be valuable. But don't let the date fool you, this coin hides secrets that collectors worldwide are desperate to uncover. By 2005, the design had shifted slightly over the years, still bearing the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, but now with the updated Ian Rank Broadley effigy that collectors recognize instantly. On the reverse, the famous Prince of Wales feathers still shine proudly, a design carried across generations. But what makes 2005 so fascinating isn't just the design, it's the scarcity of truly well-preserved examples, and, more importantly, the shocking variety of errors and anomalies that slipped through the mint during this period. A fine condition example of a 2005 2 new pence might trade hands for just a few dollars, say $10 or $20. That seems harmless enough, but the story doesn't stop there. When you move into higher grades, uncirculated, brilliant uncirculated, or proof, the value jumps dramatically. Some collectors in the United States, eager to complete sets of British decimal coins, have paid $5,000 to $15,000 for examples that gleam like the day they were struck. And then there are the mistakes, the real treasures. Imagine holding a 2005 2 pence that was struck off center, or one with a double die obverse, where the Queen's profile appears faintly doubled under the correct strike. These are the kinds of minting errors that can rocket a coin's value, not just into the thousands, but into six-figure territory. Yes, you heard that right. A tiny misprint by the Royal Mint could make a 2 pence coin worth $250,000, $375,000, or even over $500,000 when the right collector comes knocking. Now, you might wonder, how do I know if my 2005 2 pence is one of these gems? Start by carefully studying the edges and lettering. Is the date crisp, or does it show any doubling? Does the Queen's portrait look perfectly struck, or do you see shadow-like images or misaligned features? Even a slight misstrike can make your coin extraordinary. Collectors love anomalies, and the rarer the error, the higher the bidding frenzy. Some of the most shocking sales have come from coins people thought were worth nothing, only to discover under magnification that they had one of the rarest minting mistakes of the entire series. And here's the incredible part: coins like this don't just sit in museums or elite collections. They're hiding in pockets, jars, and old coin tins right now, waiting for someone like you to take a closer look. That's why stories of someone selling a simple 2005 2 new pence for a six-figure price hit collectors like a bolt of lightning. It feels impossible, but it's happening more than you think. A coin you once dismissed as small change could actually fund a retirement, pay off a house, or even change an entire family's future. So before you overlook that copper coin from 2005, take a closer look. It might just be one of the rarest and most valuable of the entire Elizabeth decimal series. And trust me, as jaw-dropping as this sounds, the next coin in our list goes even further, with a story and value so shocking, you'll hardly believe it's real. And by the way, if you're enjoying this journey through rare treasures, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now, because every week we uncover coins that could turn into life-changing finds. Moving on, let's take a step back in time to 1971. The very first year the 2 new pence coin was introduced after Britain switched to decimal currency. Now, this isn't just any date. 1971 marks the birth of an entirely new system of money in the United Kingdom. Imagine the excitement, the confusion, and the historical weight of that moment. Every household was handling these coins, getting used to decimalization, and these pieces became symbols of a new financial era. In your hand, you'd find the fresh young portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machen, with the royal crown and elegant detail shining bright. On the reverse, the striking Prince of Wales feathers, with the motto, Ich dien, meaning I serve, declared the coin's proud heritage. Now, you've said this coin is in no fine condition, and that tells me it's worn, probably dull, with many details lost to time. To some, that might look like a flaw, but here's where the story gets wild. Even heavily circulated examples of the very first year of issue are treasured by collectors because they mark the starting point of Britain's modern coinage. A coin in rough shape might sell for a few dollars, maybe $5 or $10 at best. But if you look deeper, the potential value rises dramatically. That's because some 1971 2 pence coins were struck with unusual planchets, misaligned dies, or off-center impressions. These rare errors can make an otherwise ordinary, worn coin shoot into the tens of thousands of dollars. Imagine taking a coin that looks battered and worthless, only to find under close inspection, it has a striking error that collectors would pay $50,000, $80,000, or even more than $200,000 to secure, and when it comes to uncirculated or mint state versions of the 1971 2 pence, the story grows even more shocking. Bright, lustrous examples of this first-year issue have sold for $25,000, $40,000, and in extreme cases over $100,000. Proof sets from that year, especially those containing rare anomalies, can fetch staggering sums, sometimes beyond $350,000, when the right collector is determined to complete a historical set. And think about the sentimental weight here. Collectors know this isn't just another date. This coin represents history, the very first step into a new age of money. And that drives demand higher than almost any other decimal coin. So, how do you know if your 1971 coin is worth keeping? Look closely at the lettering. If you see doubling in the date or unusual shapes in the Queen's portrait, that's a huge red flag in the best way possible. Check the rim for misstrikes, clipped planchets, or any signs that the coin didn't come out perfectly round. Even discoloration caused by odd minting processes can add value. And don't let condition discourage you. Even ugly coins can hide six-figure surprises if the minting went wrong in just the right way. What's truly exciting is that these coins often get dismissed as worthless. People throw them into jars, leave them in dusty boxes, or even spend them without thinking twice. But for the trained eye or the lucky finder, a 1971 2 pence could be the start of a life-changing discovery. That's the shock and thrill of coin collecting. The idea that something so ordinary could hold a value so extraordinary. And let me tell you, if you think this first-year issue is fascinating, just wait until you see the next coin. Because the deeper we go, the higher the stakes climb, and the values start breaking into ranges that will leave you absolutely stunned. Next up, we land in the year 1981, a year that most people wouldn't even think twice about when it comes to 2 pence coins. At first glance, a 1981 coin in fine condition looks just like the millions of others struck that year. The portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, by Arnold Machen, her regal crown clear against the copper surface, and on the reverse, those instantly recognizable prints of Wales feathers with the motto, Ich dien. Ordinary, right? But the truth is, 1981 is anything but ordinary for collectors who know what to look for. Here's the first surprise. 1981 was one of the last years before subtle, but important changes in design and production began creeping into Britain's coinage. Coins from this year are often overlooked, but they're a key part of completing decimal-era collections. A fine condition example might bring only $5 to $15. Nothing to write home about. But when you step into higher grade territory, bright and circulated specimens with that perfect copper glow, suddenly, we're talking hundreds, even thousands of dollars. Collectors in the United States love coins from transition periods, and 1981 sits right in that sweet spot. But let's turn up the heat, because the real treasure lies in the rare errors of 1981. Imagine a double die strike where the date looks like it's doubled, or a misaligned die leaving the Queen's portrait shifted slightly off-center. These aren't just curiosities, they're jackpots. An error coin like that could fetch $25,000, $60,000, or even $150,000 depending on severity and condition. And in some jaw-dropping cases, certain minting mistakes from this year have traded hands for over $400,000. Yes, a coin most people would spend without hesitation has turned into a life-altering payday for the lucky finder who spotted the anomaly. Now, let's talk about the fine condition coin in your hand. Sure, it may not shine like an uncirculated beauty, but collectors still want these early decimal issues, especially when they show good detail. Look at the rim. Is it even? Check the lettering around new pence. Any doubling or stretching? Examine the Queen's hair and crown. Even a slight doubling effect or weak strike can transform this from a modest collector's item into something worth tens of thousands. These little clues are like treasure maps, guiding you to coins that could change your life. And don't forget, many people store away coins from the 1980s without ever realizing what they have. A coin jar, an old wallet, or a forgotten box could easily be hiding one of the rarest 1981 issues. Collectors today pay staggering amounts because they know these coins complete the story of Britain's decimal era, a story that spans decades, but started with the humble 2 pence. That's why demand never stops climbing, and neither do the prices. So, while most people would overlook a 1981 2 pence in fine condition, you now know the truth. It could be worth far more than you'd ever imagine. And here's the kicker. As thrilling as this discovery is, the final coin on our list is the one that truly takes rarity and value to a level so shocking, it almost feels impossible. Stay with me, because what comes next could blow your mind. And finally, we arrive at 1980, a year that for most people feels completely ordinary, but for collectors, it carries a thunderclap of surprise. In your hand, the 1982 new pence might look simple, the proud young portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, by Arnold Machen, crisp and commanding, and on the reverse, the classic feathers with Dean curling across the banner. But here's the secret: when you're holding one in extra fine condition, you're no longer holding just small change. You're holding a treasure that could spark a collector's frenzy. Let's start with the basics. A standard circulated 1982 pence might only fetch a few dollars, maybe $10 or $20 at most. But an extra fine example like this changes everything. Sharp details in the Queen's hair, clean lines in the feathers, and a rim that glows with nearly mint brilliance. That's what collectors hunt for. In this grade, coins have sold for $2,500 to $10,000, sometimes more. And when you step up to brilliant, uncirculated or proof strikes, the value explodes, climbing into the tens of thousands. But here's where jaws really dropped. The error coins of 1980. The Royal Mint was still producing massive quantities during this period, and that meant a few slipped through with shocking mistakes. Coins struck off center, planchets clipped at the edges, double die-up verses where the Queen's portrait looks shadowed, or even experimental compositions. These are the golden tickets. A single miss-struck 1980 coin has been known to fetch $75,000, $200,000, and in extraordinary cases, upwards of $500,000 at auction. Yes, that's right, a 2 pence coin that could cover the cost of a luxury home. Now think about this. Yours is in extra fine condition. That means it survived decades with very little wear, standing out from the millions that were battered and bruised through everyday circulation. That makes it far scarcer than people realize. Collectors will pay staggering amounts for coins like this, because they know once it's gone into a private collection, it may never appear on the open market again. And scarcity plus demand equals one thing: skyrocketing value. So, how do you spot a potentially life-changing 1980 coin? Look first at the lettering around the rim. Any doubling or unevenness is a clue. Study the feather's sharp detail means higher grade, but strange, distorted lines could mean a mint error. And always check the portrait of Elizabeth II. If her features show even the slightest doubling or strike anomaly, you could be holding a six-figure treasure. And here's the emotional punch: coins like this are hiding in plain sight, sitting in old change drawers, passed down in family jars, overlooked at flea markets. To most people, it's just 2 pence. To a collector, it could be worth more than their car, their house, or their entire retirement plan. That's the magic and the mystery of rare coin hunting. So now you've seen them, the 5 ultra-rare UK 2 new pence Elizabeth coins that could be worth an absolute fortune. From the historic 1971 first-year issue, through the overlooked 1976 and 1981 pieces, into the modern shocks of 2005, and finally to the 1980 extra fine condition coin that could outshine them all. Each one tells a story of history, chance, and unimaginable value. The question is, do you have one of these treasures hiding in your home? If you enjoyed this journey and want to discover even more shocking stories of coins that can change lives, Make sure you're subscribed to Worth Coin. Hit that subscribe button, tap the bell, and join us every week as we uncover the next hidden jackpot that could be sitting right under your nose.